Yes guys, welcome back to another video. So today, I'm excited to say we are now 8 days out from my first show of this season. So what I'm going to do today is basically talk through my plan for this week coming. A big reason for wanting to do this video series is to share information that can help people that want to compete, and I feel like this week is something where I can share information that can definitely help people. Having competed for a while, I've tried many methods in a peak week leading up to the show to try and look my best. So today I want to share with you what I'll be doing this week, which comes from knowledge and also experience. I've tried many things, like I say, and I've found that this is what works best for me. So I'm going to share it with you guys. We are now 8 days away from the show. So not too much will change today and tomorrow, but then as I'll explain through the week, things will change. So up until this point, as you know from the last video, I shared my diet on there that I was having and also where I was at. I'd say at this point I'm now stage ready, so I'm not having to chase fat loss at this point. So now I can start to look at just peaking the physique right in terms of looking full and being recovered, ready for the show. So today is Saturday, 8 days out. After I've filmed this, we're gonna go and train push. And that session will be my normal push session, just like I do on any given Saturday. And then tomorrow I will train pull again, the same way I would train pull on any given Sunday throughout the prep. So they're going to be heavier sessions, and then from there the focus will be to recover going into the show. So what I'll actually do is I'll run through the diet part of this first, and then we're going to go through what I do with salt and water and the reasons for that, and then also what I'll do with my training and the reasons for that, and then there's also a couple of additional things as well. So tomorrow, like I say, I'll be training pull, but the diet in terms of the coming days, from Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, my diet will stay exactly the same as it's been at this point in the prep. The reason for doing that is because people will say this is a depletion phase. If you are on a diet that puts you in a calorie deficit, you are going to be depleted. So what we mean by this phrase in depleted is the muscle is depleted of glycogen stores, because basically you are burning all that fuel off. So people will do no carbs, and to be honest, I don't think there's really any point in that. If your diet is set up to be in a calorie deficit, then you are depleting on that amount of food anyway. So I'll keep the carbs the same as they've been through the fat loss phase of the diet, and that'll be the same all the way through these 4 days. Then we get to Thursday, which is 3 days out from the show, and this is when my carb up will begin. So as I've explained, when you are depleting through a diet and for the show, your muscles will lack in glycogen stores, meaning they're a bit flatter, not as full. So then the aim of the carb up is to reload the muscles with glycogen and start to fill back out so that you look a bit fuller, and the muscle will also press more against the skin, which is what we want on stage. We want to look full. So I'll start my carb up at 3 days out. There is different ways you can do this. It doesn't have to be later in the week. I know people do it earlier in the week and then maintain it. But for me personally, this is the way I like to do it. I don't want to be carbing up earlier in the week and then checking all through the week that I'm maintaining it. I actually personally prefer to do it later in the week. So my first day, the numbers of these carbs will come through trial and experience. And I know roughly that these are going to be the right numbers for me. And they can change. That's why I've just put roughly 500 gram of carbs on that first day. The second day, I'll likely go a bit higher. I usually go Friday, 2 days out, as my highest day, and that's where I'm really looking to make sure I am full, completely full. These numbers, like I say, can change depending on how my body's responding. So I might find, okay, that's probably not really done anything, so I might up this a little bit more. But the reason I'm doing those 2 days there, and then if you see on the Saturday, the 1 day out from the show, I'll back off a little bit, because at that point, I want to have got in most of the carbs and literally just be reducing it to an amount that's probably just going to maintain the look that I'm at. But it also gives room for error. So on the Saturday, if I find, right, I'm still really flat, I can go higher. Or if I feel like, oh, right, I've probably overdone it a tiny bit, I've got room to back off and time before the show to just complete the look and make sure that I'm full, but not overly carbed up. And it also gives us a day for the stomach just to relax a little bit, because this will be a lot of food and just gives it time all to digest. The foods that I use for this will be the same foods that I've eaten through the diet. So in terms of my carb sources, I've been eating cream of rice, I've been eating oats, and I've been eating a lot of rice as well. So they'll be the foods that I use. In terms of protein, I'll bring that down a little bit, but that's just basically so that my body can process the carbs and it's not having to digest as much protein, and then fats will be added in as needed as well. But again, they won't be too high. On the show day itself, I'll just then be down to small meals, because at that point I should be full. I shouldn't be needing to put in a lot of food, and at the end of the day, the main thing on show day, I want to be keeping my stomach in tight. I don't want to be filling it up with food. So what I'll do at that point is just have small meals that will consist of roughly around 25 grams of protein, 35 grams of carbs, and like 10 grams of fat. So there will be a lot smaller meals, but they're just going to maintain the look and just keep me from being hungry more than anything. So that's the food portion covered. Then we're going to look at salt and water, because these are the three things altogether that are going to dictate how a physique looks in terms of fullness and dryness, are going to be carbs, salt and water. They all kind of work together to bring that look. This is something that people try and manipulate a lot, and I'm going to tell you right now, do not bother. The best result I've had is by just keeping everything the same. So I am a bit OCD, so as you'll see here, I have around 6 grams of salt each day, and at the moment around 6 litres of water. And I'll make sure that that is basically set up from around 2 weeks out. So I've been doing that all this week. In terms of the 6 grams of salt, I know that that is basically a gram on each meal that I have 6 meals a day, and I know that it's like 5 turns on the salt grinder, and then that's just going to be the same on every meal. Nice and straightforward. In terms of water, 6 litres, which you can track. I mean, this bottle here is 2 litres, so I'm having like 3 of those a day. So I'm just keeping it consistent. As we get later in the week, as you can see, every day that is going to stay exactly the same. Now, again, through trial and error, I've learnt this, and I hear people talk about looking dry on stage and everything, but I feel like for me personally, and maybe for other people as well, a dry looking physique is one that is well hydrated and also full from the carbs. But also, I mean, you're not going to hold additional water, and the best way to do that is just to keep drinking and keep going to the toilet regularly, keep pissing it all out, and the body's going to keep what it needs to be hydrated and just piss out the excess. So just keep that going as normal. The only day that will change is on show day. I'll salt the meals the same, so the same turns on the salt grinder, and then with each meal, I'm not drinking loads of water now. I'm just putting in like around 250 millilitres with a meal, maybe a little sip here and there if I get a dry mouth. And the only reason for that is just so I'm not going to the toilet all day. And again, just to keep the stomach in, I don't want to keep filling it up with water. So I'm just putting enough in to soak up the food and just to stay hydrated through the day. Through being hydrated, that is a guaranteed way of being able to get a pump as well backstage. A well pumped up physique is always going to look better than a dehydrated physique. So keep the water going in, keep the salt going in, carb up, and you'll guarantee if you are shredded, that will show when you're full and well hydrated and well pumped up. So that is literally my goal for all of this. Then we're going to go on to training. So again, this is the only week where I would really back off with training, as I've explained in the other videos. Keep your training the same all the way through your prep. The day that I will start backing off a little bit with training is on Monday, because at this point, all we want to be making sure of is that the body is well recovered. I don't want to be going into the show fatigued and tired. So this is basically a recovery week in terms of training. So on Monday, I'll train legs as normal. And in terms of recovering, basically what I'll do is back off a tiny bit with the weight and maybe a couple of reps here and there as well. So I'm not really going to full failure now. I'm just getting a bit of a pump through the muscles and just working them, and basically just a bit more output through these days. So my steps on that day, same as Sunday as well, I'll do like 15K, which is what I've reduced them to now that I'm not chasing the fat loss so much. And then if you look at these days here, I'll go push, pull, I usually wouldn't train body parts this close together, but now, as I say, we're not training to failure, we're not training to fatigue, we're not going to be causing any muscular damage from these sessions because they're not as intense, so I don't mind training them closer together, and it will just be more pump sessions here, like I say, on the lower days, and then just to see how the carbs are going in, how the pump is on these sessions as well. And the steps will be reduced to what I would just do normally in a day, from being at work, from being in the gym, all the usual stuff, and I'll be right down to 10K. So fatigue's going to be right down. I'm going to train for a bit of a pump, see how I'm looking, keep doing my posing each day, and then we go from there. And then Saturday will be a rest day. So that's everything covered in terms of diet, salt, water and training, and then we've just got a couple of additional things at the end. So for me, I'm going to have a massage on the Monday, again part of the recovery, make sure nothing's tight, make sure I can open everything up in the poses. On the Friday, as close as possible to the show, we get a haircut because we want to make sure that that's looking as good as possible as well. On the Saturday, I will travel to Birmingham where the show is, and registration is actually on the Saturday this year. And then also on Saturday, we have a polygraph test, which is basically a lie detector test, which is, as we're doing a natural bodybuilding show, is basically a drugs test. So I'm actually excited for that because I've never done one of those before, so it'll be a new experience. I've only done urine testing before, so I'm, like I say, looking forward to that. It'll be quite cool. And then also after that, we'll get the base tan on as well. In terms of the tan, one thing I haven't covered is something else that you should be starting from 2 weeks out, is basically to shave the body hair off and also to keep moisturizing the skin. The reason I start that 2 weeks out is just to make sure that I've got everything off, because I miss bits, I'm useless at it. If I was to do it the day before the show, I'd be stressing that I've missed some. So I'll start 2 weeks out, just shave all the body hair off, keep moisturising, exfoliating, get all the dead skin off. I see people all the time, they put their tan on and it looks like patchy and everything. It's just basically because they've not done the skin prep properly. I mean, the tanning people at the competition will send you guidance on how to do all that, and I would say make sure you follow it because it can make a difference. And then basically we come to Sunday, show day, and that'll be when we put the top coat of tan on. So I think that's pretty much everything covered. I hope that can help someone. Like I say, that's the reason why I wanted to do this series, is to show new competitors, or maybe ones that are just looking for a couple of tips on how to run things in the peak week. If someone can benefit from that, then great. So if you give the video a thumbs up, if you appreciate that, that would be great as well. So that's my peak week covered, and we'll just give a quick recap of how I'm feeling, I guess, at this point. So like I say, we're about to go and train push. We are 8 days out. Since the last video, I mean, I pushed for another week, and then I started to feel like I was pretty much ready at 2 weeks out. So since then, I've just been feeling really excited for the show. Through the prep, I did have moments of self-doubt where I had to push myself and keep pushing. And at this point, I mean, I must just say that I'm just excited for the show now. I can't wait for it, and I know that I've put everything into this prep. That knowledge of knowing that I've done that, and also this plan here, pretty much makes me feel stress-free at this point. I've got nothing to stress about. I know what I'm doing all through this week. I know I'm ready. I know I'm bringing the best I ever have. I've done everything that I can. I'm not doing any crazy protocols on this last week where I'm going to be stressing, thinking, is this working? Is this not working? Essentially, this is quite straightforward. It's basically just my normal diet, carb up a little bit, and keep everything else the same. So I know come show day, I'm going to be cool, calm, collected, stress-free, and ready to go. Right, I think that's everything covered. I managed to do it in one take, so I'm very happy with that. It's time to get this training session done.